Ladies and gentle ladies, we are live. How you do? How you do? Thanks for joining us. We got some fun planned for tonight. Nothing crazy, but actually it's going to be really crazy. We're like, hey, what should we talk about? You know, I don't need to explain it again. You know, we've messed around with our format a bit here and different topics just for fun. We're here, we're experimenting, doing what we do. Who knows? So tonight we're like, oh, what should we talk about? Hey, here's what we could do. Let's talk about our all-time, or all-Tim, as I like to say when Tim's here, our all-Tim top favorite video games of all Tim. So, sure, why not? We're on Twitch. Twitch is a video game thing. I like video games, and we've never really covered that on the main show here. I'm sure we've mentioned video games here and there, but we've never done like an official list of all our favorite video games of all Tim. And hey, Ryan, one of our other shows, Ryan, Unpopular Opinions with Ryan Tofil, covers video games a ton. But this is new. This is different. Tim and I have played different games, and we're going to have some fun tonight. I want to thank our sponsor, eToro. You can find them at btc.com/trade. It's trade because you can trade cryptos there. We're going to show you a lot more of them later on tonight and update you on our virtual portfolio competition, which is kind of like another video game, and it's a ton of fun. So that's coming up in a bit. Tim, if I put you on the spot right now and gave you 3 seconds to name your number one favorite video game of all Tim, don't tell me, because we're going to start from the bottom. What? Well, let's start here. Tim, thanks for joining me. I should say hello before we get too ham. You know, it's just polite, right?
Yes, no, you should at least tell me that I'm welcome here and that you do appreciate my time.
I didn't say you were welcome there. I just said hello.
Oh, well, that's true, yes. Well, I am here. We're queer and steers or something. It's Texas, whatever.
So start me off at the bottom here, Tim. What are some of name the number one absolute worst video game of all Tim that you've ever played? Anything come to mind?
I mean, I probably have. Maybe. I mean, I'll argue at this. I don't know.
So one of mine, this one I have explained a little bit on the show because there's some economic stuff involved, which you know, long story short, brought me into Bitcoin as my life went along. But I started out economically trading stuff on Runescape. And as much as I love that experience, as much as I learned from that about clans and about trading, you know, commodities on the Grand Exchange and whatnot, I still would put that pretty darn low on my list of video games only because of how grindy it was. Hours and hours and hours and hours of my life frittered away like fishing and just waiting for my inventory to fill up with fish and then walking to the bank and then walking back to the fishing spot and then walking to the bank, or lighting fires, cutting down trees, lighting fires, cutting down trees, lighting fires. Hours of my life. So that one is near the bottom for me. And I don't really have much more to say. That's about it. It was grindy. It was kind of entertaining, different parts of it. There were quests that weren't quite so grindy. But once you finished the quests and explored the world, grind. All right, Tim, you got anything near the bottom of your list? Worst video games of all Tim, building up to our best video games. Just name a game that you regret playing.
Worst is definitely Minesweeper. Worst is definitely Minesweeper. That again, I have.
What do you got against Minesweeper? It was fun.
I have an inferiority complex mostly. I didn't like that. Sometimes most of the time I lost. Solitaire wasn't very good as far as a video game. I'm trying to remember. I never really played a bunch of those Flash games, but I remember a couple really shitty ones. Do you remember
like addicting games?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There were some good ones there. Yeah, baby.
They weren't.
So one of the ones I played the most. Well, let me see. There was a racing one. There's tons of racing ones. I don't even remember what it was called, so it's not worth my time explaining which specific one. It was just a racing game. You were on the highway. There were regular cars that you had to dodge, and you were racing one other car. That was it. I loved it. There was a Bubble Trouble. That one was fun. Ew, yeah, it was so much fun. What do you mean worst video games? There's like sniper games. There's like the Impossible Quiz. That one's pretty low for me. Like, again, I had fun playing it for a while, but ultimately, in the grand scheme of video games, yes, of course the Impossible Quiz goes near the bottom. Have you ever played that one, Tim?
I think so. That's the one where it's like half of it's a riddle
basically. It starts out with like semi-normal questions, and you just have to answer them. But then it gets into like random questions that don't really even have an answer. You just have to memorize like which of the 4 options is correct. And then there was stuff like, tap this answer 300 times, not 300, maybe like 20 times. Tap this answer 20 times before the bomb goes off, and then you just have to pound that answer. And then, so it started out as a quiz-ish type of thing, and then it came into random questions where you just had to memorize the answer, and then there was some like speed-based questions. But I don't know, apparently it went on and on and on, and apparently it was possible. I don't know if it could be beaten, but I guess it could have. I don't know. Yeah, addicting games. What a great topic. We got a whole list of crappy video games to cover here now.
There was that. There was the one where you tried to make a guy run, but then he had like no joints. But before, I forget what it was called. It was I think it was an anagram or something as far as the name. But no, I thought of something worse than Minesweeper, which was the educational games that they gave us.
Reader Rabbit, Jumpstart.
Right? No, I'm talking like there was one. It was like Explore. It wasn't a video game. All you did was click around.
What? No, I don't know what you're talking about. Keep going.
I don't remember. It was when I was in like 3rd grade. It was Explorers, and you watched like you just clicked around and you watched videos.
Mavis Beacon teaches typing.
Yes, no, that was actually pretty good. The Penguins was good, and but a lot of those didn't. It was more about it was about typing rhythm, and there was like you did the checkout, and I got really good at using the number pad. That's why I still keep that today. I don't know, like worst. No, I also had a Game Boy Color and had some pretty bad games with that. There was like Harry Potter games.
Those games are bad when they're clearly just branded video games. And like there's nothing new. I don't know. At my friend's house, I used to play like a Shrek video game. Like there's nothing. It's like it's not. Like, sure, it might be kind of fun for a few hours, but there's nothing new or interesting about it. All you do is walk around and collect coins. Like, if you're gonna do that, complete this jump. Make sure you don't fall in the lava. Like, if you're gonna do that, you might as well just play like a Mario platformer.
Yeah, most of those games, whether it's like that or I don't know. Apparently, people like the Simpsons race games, but those are kind of just like Grand Theft Auto lights. But I know what you're talking about, where it's just a branded game, then it kind of just fits onto whatever is a platformer or a first-person shooter. There's some games like that. There were the old like Rambo game. No, my grandparents had a Sega Genesis.
Yeah. Did you play any Toe Jam and Earl?
What?
Toe Jam and Earl? All right.
No, it was a Ren and Stimpy game I played.
All right.
I mean, they even had an NES that worked sometimes. Those games were weird, but even the Sega Genesis one, there was one where you flew a helicopter, and it was open world, but the graphics were just bad. Sports games were just people were almost pixels. Oh no, okay, this is reminding me. Worst video game I've ever played is definitely the golf video game on my grandfather's computer from like the 80s where it was just this, you just press the space bar and then the bar, like a bar would go back and forth on the screen. You had to press the space bar again at the right time, or you shot it. The golf ball didn't even look like a pixel. Like hitting it off the tee, it showed the full view of you, and then there was just kind of this one thing down by the tee, and your character did the swing. but then it would change to a different view for putting, where then your character just became a stick figure, and the ball was literally just one pixel that was kind of jagged and would roll across. That's
I can't say I remember any like retro golf video games.
No, this thing was like actual like the big floppy disks that you could with like an actual floppy disk. There was a Red Baron game too, which was pretty good. It was pretty simple, but I do kind of wish I still had that, or at least some way to emulate that. But I think I have looked it up, but there's too many other Red Baron games.
I did play a old Mario Golf game on, I think it was NES or one of those super old systems. And the graphics definitely sucked, but it was playable. I would put that not at the bottom, though. Like, definitely above. Like, I wouldn't play it all day, every day. But if you're hanging out with friends, like, yeah, it's plenty entertaining. It's plenty playable, plenty challenging. And yeah, there's like rewards and goals and stars and whatnot. So I wouldn't say I was in love with it by any stretch, but I would definitely not put it on the bottom either of my list.
Speaking of Mario stuff, I'll piss Ryan off whenever I say I really don't like Mario Tennis or Mario. I don't particularly like most Mario games.
Mario Tennis, I loved it. I still do.
I know you guys all love that game.
Yeah.
We had to play this forever, and we have to. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I hate pressing buttons. That's another game where I get angry because I'm like, there's something these people are doing to win. I can't do this bad.
I can't say I remember playing it with you, but I believe you that we did a ton when you were probably out here. So, I like it because it's like playable. Like, anyone can just hop in and play it. Like, they might not win right away, but it's like super playable for anyone right away. But it's also like super in depth if you want to get good at it. It seems simple. It's like, it's just tennis, like back and forth. Like, how much can you enjoy that? But it is super in depth when you learn the different characters and the different hits you can do, and then you play against the computers and try to beat the aces, and then character combos when you have a front character and a back character when you're playing doubles. All of it's like super in depth. I would not put it at the top of my list, but for as old as it was, we got a crap ton of playability out of it. So
no, you just picked the right character. I have a somewhat updated computer that the old, really old computer was upstairs at my grandparents' house. That one didn't have a joystick or anything. It didn't even have a mouse. You did everything with just the space bar keyboard. The downstairs one had like a box mouse that you had to like smash. Like, probably the reason why my fingers act up sometimes now was playing that. But I played, that was like actual, like what you think of a floppy disk, little square plastic. And they had the, like, I'm assuming the first SimCity, and it was actually SimCity. And like, Godzilla would just attack your city, and he'd be these weird, like, pixelated thing where you could make lava attack them.
I played a little bit of SimCity. I want to say it was called SimCity 2000. I played a little bit of that, but I was too young to really understand all the logic and like what it would actually take to win. Like, I didn't really know what zoning even meant. I didn't realize how, like, you could do zoning this way to make your city function better or whatever.
Yeah, I just looked at it. What I'm talking about was 1989. That was the SimCity. That was the newer computer that they had. The old one, it might have been like early 80s or 84. I don't really have any kind of concept of how quickly computers got better back then, as far, because the difference between even the SimCity thing versus the other games on the older computer is huge. How big the game is. All the games on that thing are like, on the old one are maybe 4 different screens, and then the background super. Another game that wasn't too bad, I never really got it though. Did you ever play the tank game where everything was just made out of like lasers?
Like lines?
Yeah,
I played that. I found it on Addicting Games at some point. There were a couple different versions. I want to say there was
that on my cousin's computer, like old one.
Was it online or was it just a?
No, it was a regular game on it. It wasn't an online game.
I think the one I played was online. Tank something.
Okay.
But it was I'm sure I played a newer version because it was on Addicting Games, and it had like the wireframe tanks, and you just drove around. There was also wireframe buildings, and I think it was multiplayer. I think you were shooting other real people. I don't know that for sure, but
there was another game like that where it was a plane. Again, this was a newer one of my cousin's computers, but I don't know if I was just really dumb or really young because I couldn't read it. I couldn't read what the name of the thing was, and they wouldn't tell me because my aunt said it had a swear word in it. So I have no idea. Yeah, like in the it was probably like bastard or something like that. Or, I've tried searching for that again, but I have no idea. Or it might have been like hell wing or something like that.
All right.
But yeah, no, I've played all those different dumb little video games on those computers. The ones at my cousins, their Sega Genesis, their PS1. There was a PS1 game that was. It was, I guess, trying to bank off of the success of Grand Theft Auto, but it was first person. I don't think you were driving, or you might have been driving a police car. It was just you just chased people. Like I said, I don't know necessarily if you were driving, but the main thing that I remember is that you could just fire out the side of the car, and my only strategy was just to someone's driving away and just shoot the other cars around them so they swerve over and hit them. And that was the whole game for me. I don't really understand what you were supposed to do, or like just the idea that some person it wasn't just like a bootleg game. Like a company put it out, and I have no idea what the point of the game was. I don't know if there were different levels. My cousins were also really into like the old Tony Hawk games and Need for Speed, which again just turns into trying to just get the cops to drive after you and then try to get away.
So I played a snowboarding game. So back in the day when you first bought Windows, or certain versions of Windows anyway, I want to say Windows XP, it would come with this service called Wild Tangent, and it had like 8 or 10 or 12 games, but you could only play the full version for like a week or two, and then they would try to make you pay. So there are a couple. Obviously, I would never pay for anything especially when I was that young. I still never pay for anything. But so there were a couple games where one of them was a snowboarding game. There was like a helicopter where you just like fly and try to shoot enough stuff. Maybe a racing game, but it was an interesting dynamic for me because I would play for when I first, maybe it was a month, I don't know. I feel like for a while, a couple weeks, I would get like real deep into these games. And then I couldn't play them anymore. I could play like the first level. They would continue your trial where you could just play the first level. So I would get real deep into these games. I would love it. And then all of a sudden, for the rest of time, I could only play the first level. You know, I think each game had each trial started separately. So I would play one, and then it would expire, and then I would switch to another one, and then it would expire, and then eventually I would just go back and play you could just play the first level over and over and over, and I'm sure I did that way more than I should have. I also thought I would probably put those near the bottom of my list. Like, they were entertaining for a while, but the fact that they were so limited and there was nothing crazy innovative about them, like, they're playable, but they would definitely go near the bottom of my list. I thought of when you talked about SimCity, I also remembered Rollercoaster Tycoon.
Yeah. I never played that. I watched people play that, though. I've watched a lot of people play a lot of games.
Oh, man.
Like, people watch on YouTube now. Like, I would just sit there and people would get kind of weirded out unless I knew them specifically. But
well, that
what were you saying?
It kind of started making me. Well, first of all, I would probably put that on the upper half of my list. I had a ton of fun with Rollercoaster Tycoon. It was fairly innovative. And also, a lot of it had some Easter egg type stuff, and it was creative. So I'd put that near the top. All of that. Oh, so then that got me thinking, like, well, what puts a game near the top for me? And there's a couple things that come to mind. Creativity is one. If it's got some original elements, that's great. Or if it lets the user be creative, like Minecraft. You can build anything you want in Minecraft. Yeah, that's pretty darn fun. And it's almost limitless. It is limitless, the number of things you could build. So that's a huge factor for me when I'm ranking video games, is creativity from both the developers and the players. Also, I would say timelessness. And I think that's a huge factor, because if you can play a game 20 years later and still love it, that's huge. That puts you clearly, without question, that puts you above so many other games. So, like, it makes me wonder, like, Rollercoaster Tycoon is such an old game, but if I were to boot that up today, I feel like I would have just the exact same thrill. I don't see why not. Like, it's the same challenges, the same creativity, like, I don't see how you could go wrong. Like, all the parks are going to be there, and all the challenges to beat a given park are still going to be there. That sounds pretty darn timeless. I do wonder why people don't still play it. I guess there's only so many parks to beat. Maybe that's the main reason, is it is beatable. Once it's beat, maybe it's less timeless. But still, so there's that. Timelessness is a huge factor for me. Other than that, I love multiplayer to an extent. It has to be done right. Like, if it's like... Yeah, I love multiplayer just because it adds to the limitlessness of it. If a game is multiplayer, then every game is different, and you can play it as much as you want, and you can get better. You're going to have better games. You're going to have worse games. I think that helps a ton. Another factor, cooperativeness. So co-op multiplayer games, I love those. Like, you can't go wrong. Challenges with your friends as opposed to challenges by yourself, way better with friends. Anyway, those are some of my factors. Tim, what are your factors? Like, what would make a game clearly near the top of the list for you?
I'd probably base it completely off of just distracting me. Probably.
Really?
If it's taking me, if it's engrossing me enough to where I'm feeling whatever emotions they're trying to express, that also seems to have to do more with just like if I've played it before. Like, I remember one thing I want to mention before is, again, talking about computer games. And this one, if I could still find it, it's not that it was that much fun, but it was somewhat enjoyable. Just a thing where you just destroyed your desktop. Like, it just took a picture of your desktop and then you shot it. You put termites on it. You set it on fire. You painted it.
I think I remember that. Yeah,
you could shoot the termites. But probably, as far as if I'm being like, yeah, no, this is a good game versus whatever. I'm not huge on multiplayer games. That's pretty much all I play now, because I pretty much just play one video game now.
I should clarify. Wait, what are you playing? Wait, don't tell me. Save that for when we get to the top of the list. But I should clarify when I was going to say with multiplayer, what I meant when I said it has to be done right is it's tough when there's a multiplayer game that is like, it's too easy to get good at, and it's like virtually impossible to win because other people have just mastered it way too much. And for that, it comes to mind like Fortnite or Call of Duty. I had a ton of fun with Call of Duty, and I've won plenty of matches, so it was done better than some. But in general, even if I put like 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week into Call of Duty, I still would be on the lower half. Like I would lose more games than I would win. And that's just tough. Like I still enjoyed it. I'm still glad I played it a fair amount. But in general, the multiplayer I would not say is its best. Well, it is its best feature. I don't care about their campaign. Sorry, I just don't. But it wasn't done as well as some other games, is what I should say. It was still great, still a ton of fun, still worth putting hundreds of hours into, sure. But I think there are better ways to do multiplayer. That's all I had to add in terms of multiplayer. Is it can't be done such that it's impossible to win. But then, on the other hand, then it's like, well, there's like, what? Is there going to be no skill involved and it's just going to be purely random multiplayer? Nobody wants that either. So it's tough. It's really tough to do. That's why I think co-op is kind of a win-win situation because it's still multiplayer, but you don't have to worry as much about balancing it. So, all right, yeah. So, I have a follow-up question on the. You said it's purely about distracting you, which that's fair. Like that's great. That's a great part of video games. But my follow-up question is like, well, there's different kinds of distraction because Candy Crush will distract people for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. But then there's like a more a more sophisticated type of distraction, like a huge giant campaign, or there's like open world, like Skyrim type of like nonstop. You can go anywhere you want, do anything you want. You could play Skyrim and never do a mission, just hunt animals for hours and hours and still have a variety of challenges depending on where you go and what kind of animals you're hunting. So that's my follow-up question, Tim. Like, would you prefer a Candy Crush type of distraction, endless distraction, or a Skyrim type of endless distraction, or something else?
Okay. Probably not a Candy Crush type thing. Part of what I would say the difference there is Candy Crush or any of the they're basically just flash games. Those are kind of meant to do in between texting people. And then like people kind of just sit there and like you can waste hours of doing it, but then
I agree. They're designed as time sinks because that's how they make their money, is by capturing your attention and showing you ads. They're designed to be time sinks, but that's why I'm asking this follow-up question, because you said that one of your best things about a video game is being distracted. So that's why I'm trying to clarify here. It's like, what kind of distraction are you going for?
I need emotional distracting from my terrible life. No, I guess I think it still works. But what I was meaning as far as like a distraction from whatever I was thinking about, like Candy Crush. If you're depressed, maybe it'll make you feel better, but you'll probably think of it versus like something like
I don't know.
What? You think people feel better after playing Candy Crush?
No, that's what you said, and I was going to disagree. You said it might make you feel better, and I was about to disagree and say, actually, like I said about RuneScape, if I grind for hours and then look back on that period of my life, I regret it so much. Like, because I accomplished nothing. If I'm going to grind, like grinding is a part of life, but I don't want to grind at RuneScape. I want to grind at like an instrument or building websites is what I like to grind at. Like,
yeah, no, I get what you mean. Or just that is, yeah, I've never had, besides like Fallout. Fallout was, I mean, you said Skyrim. That's definitely one where you're kind of just...
Well, Fallout I don't was like open world too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've pretty much the same thing in terms of the question here.
Yeah. I think the same people make them now.
Okay.
But yeah, I would prefer not to play a game where I'm grinding away at cooking meat or building a settlement or something like that. When I'm meaning distraction, I prefer like scenario type stuff where, and it's not normally a replayability thing. That's normally the problem I run into because I won't say. Yeah, no, I could probably say like BioShock because that definitely wouldn't be in my top ones. But when I first played it, I was like, wow, this is cool because I actually care about getting out, or like, because if you haven't played the game, basically, you get dropped. Literally, I think you fall out of the sky in a plane. The whole plane crashes into the ocean. Then you survive. You wake up. You swim over to a like a light. What are they called? Warning lights, lighthouse. You go over to a lighthouse. Yeah, there's definitely a better word for this. You go over to a lighthouse, and then you go down inside of it, and then you kind of get led into this underwater world. And that was the first like horror-ish game I think I ever played, where. And like overall, where versus instead of it being like Star Wars Battlefront, which I played to death, the first one, the second one on like the PlayStation, but like an actual story, a world that was created in the game, versus it just being you start here, you shoot that person, then you die, or like, I mean, yeah. Again, I don't want to say another one because it is probably one of my favorite games. I'm trying to remember those and not use those as examples, but definitely as far as distraction, I mean, and this sounds kind of pretentious, but emotional distraction where like it takes me out of like, I feel fear, I feel bad, or I feel good if something whatever happens, like a good movie is supposed to.
Yeah, I would kind
of prefer it like that.
100% agree. It's weird. We talked just last week about that weird like logic defying like spiritual experience you can have, and that is one of the ways I think you can get them is when you play a really good game, and you're like, you finally figure out the puzzle, or you're hanging out with your friends and it's just a blast, or the world is just gorgeous, and that's it sounds hokey and hippie, but it's true. Like if the graphics and the world, everyone has a different preferences, but for me, I love like naturey, like a lot of green, like bright leaves. Like I love that stuff, as opposed to like if I'm playing Skyrim and I go down in a dungeon, like sure there's some like dwarven art down here, but I'm not like, whoa, this is gorgeous, So it's like, it sounds hippie, but the emotions are a very huge part of playing a video game. And yeah, I would agree, Tim, that if I'm playing a video game to be distracted, a lot of it is going to be about those emotions or almost spiritual experiences if you hit the right moment. And it's rare, it's hard to get that, but they do exist where you finally beat a certain part, or you see a certain landscape in the graphics, or some combination. Of course, it's even better if it's a combination where it's like you beat the puzzle and you see a great landscape of a huge dragon. I love dragons. And there's some like amazing soundtrack playing. Like and then your friend is also like this character right next to you, and you can do a high five emoji with them in the game or whatever. That's all. It sounds hippie, but that's it. That's what'll do it for me. And so, yeah, I'm just agreeing with you there.
Yeah, creating not an open world. An open world is pretty easy to fall into and get absorbed in because you can just go, I can run over here, I can steal from this guy, I can put buckets over people's heads and then steal from them and they don't notice.
Then the cops are after you and you spend like literally 2 weeks of your gameplay trying to figure out how to make the cops not chase you. That was me. Yeah. Oh, geez. That was me with Red Dead. Very low on my list. I'm sorry. I know everyone loved it. I know it was supposed to be one of the best games ever. But I just couldn't get over figuring it out, like how to even get the cops off my back. I couldn't figure out anything in the game. And especially not how to get the cops off my ass. So very low on my list.
Yeah, I never played that. Red Dead Redemption 2 was actually...
That's what I mean.
The thing I was
Redemption
thinking
2,
of.
yeah.
Okay. That's what I was thinking of when I was like, I don't want to play a game where they're like, yo, it's so in depth, and you have to build your equipment and repair it. And
Yeah, you have to shave your beard, or else it's just gonna keep growing. Like, yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Oh no, you know what probably was because I was trying to think of this, the worst video game ever, and this also ties into something you've asked me before, where you're like, have I ever been taken in on something and kind of not scammed, but been like, oh, this is gonna be great, and it isn't. And that is Mercenaries 2. I forget what the tagline after it was. The first game, it's an open world thing. Again, it's kind of like a Grand Theft Auto ripoff, but teen for teen instead of
yeah.
The second one, I watched all the trailers. I was on the forums. That was where I started writing shit. Was doing like stories on those when they're off topic or creative, whatever threads. What's a collection of thread? Like in the old forums, there's threads.
Like a board?
Yeah, maybe. Or yeah, probably. But that game on PlayStation 2, because this was when Xbox 360 and PS3 were out, but they were still putting out PS2 games. It was shit on PS2. The second mission was nearly impossible. You were a gunner in a helicopter, and this is all from third person. You're a gunner in a helicopter, and you have to escort it back, and you would just die every single time, and people argued about it. It wasn't an issue on Xbox 360. Something about the PlayStation 2, they fucked up, and I had a pre-order for the game, and then I was like, this is bad. I was so upset because all the stuff that it's going to look just as good on the PlayStation 2. We're not just putting that off. That's not the back end. And then it turns out afterwards, you're like, yeah, no, they gave this to the Montreal studio, and they had like 3 people making this. So that as far as making me angry, and as long as it being a recent, because it's kind of cheap to pick on a game from 1983. Definitely Mercenaries 2, World in Flames, I think it was.
All right.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Did you ask me a question before that, or did I just
No. I think. Okay. Yeah, I was just agreeing with you before that about the emotions of a video game. So here's what the rest of the show here is going to look like. I'm going to ask Tim if he has any other criteria that he would definitely include in ranking video games. Then we're going to. We haven't officially numbered any of these lists. We're just like roughly categorizing them here. So we're going to talk about criteria, finish that up. Then we're going to do games that are near the top, but probably not officially at the top. And then we'll go ahead and do games that are definitely in the running for number 1 for us. Again, we're not going to officially order them, but we're going to just kind of categorize them like that. So, Tim, any criteria we need to cover before we do almost top and then definitely near the top?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, all right, let's do it then. So, almost top. I mentioned a few of these, but almost top for me, yes, it was grindy. Yes, it's mainstream, but Call of Duty, a couple of them, yeah, I was a huge fan. The multiplayer was a ton of fun. Got a ton of playability out of it, then I don't regret it. Actually, it's not really grindy because with RuneScape, it's all about like, oh, I got to get to level 88. And then you get to level 88. And you're like, oh, I got to get to level 89. And then you get to level 89. Oh, I got to get level 90. Yeah, no, that's grinding.
You need a prestige, Daniel.
Call of Duty, you could do that with Call of Duty. You're like, oh, I just prestiged. Oh, I just prestiged again. Oh, I just prestiged again. Please take away my weapon so I can do it again. You could do that with Call of Duty. I did not. I never prestiged. You know what? I would prestige once just to prove to the online community that I could do it, and then I would never prestige again because I just like multiplayer. I just like playing with my friends, trying to beat people. And yes, I never, ever, ever really... maybe like one of them, I would get my kill-death ratio above 1 after like 12 solid months of playing it. But I never, as far as I know, especially the more recent ones, I never got my win-loss ratio above 1, ever. And that's what I was trying to say. The multiplayer, that aspect of it, it's hard to win for sure. In the history of all my Call of Duty ever, yes, of course I lost more games than I won. But I just had a ton of fun. That's all I have to say about that. It's near the top. I don't regret it. You could play with friends, jumping on the voice chat on an Xbox 360. Perfect way to spend a snow day or whatever. A Saturday when no one's around. So that's why it's clearly near the top for me, but it definitely wouldn't take the cake. If I had to choose a couple Call of Duties, the first one I ever played significantly was World at War on the Wii, which changed the dynamics a lot. That's the one where I probably did have a positive kill-death ratio, only because the playing field on the Wii is way lower.
Yeah. You're playing with people with nunchucks.
Yeah. No one serious played on the Wii, so it was a lot easier to win. But other than that, on the 360, I played Black Ops. I think the original Black Ops, I played a bunch, and then a little bit of Black Ops 2, and then even less of Black Ops 3. But probably on top for me would be the original Black Ops. Not because I think it was the best. I think one of the maybe the Modern Warfare ones were clearly the best, objectively. But I just didn't play those. I didn't happen to have a PlayStation at the time. I didn't get them. The first one I really played after World at War was the original Black Ops, and I loved the crap out of it. And so there's that for me. Tim, anything that you definitely enjoyed but is definitely not a clear winner for you? Did you like Call of Duty at all?
Yeah, I didn't get into until Modern Warfare 2, and then I only had Live for a little bit. Okay. I think I like Gears of War quite a bit whenever that was coming out. Or no, that was actually a couple years afterwards. So that, and then Star Wars Battlefront, the first two, on PS2. I played that. It wasn't online. I played that with my sister a lot. So there's sentimental value, and then also it's literally just it's modern. It's Call of Duty style. It's in third person though, but it's just you're just a stormtrooper. You're just a rebel person. You run around. Your tickets. You're playing against bots. I played against
Battlefront
a lot of bots.
2 the one that you played at my place?
No, that's the thing. EA got them. They used to be made by Lucasfilm.
Okay.
And then Lucasfilm Games went out of business. So they not remade, but they made a new Battlefront game just called Star Wars Battlefront. That came out like 2016 or so. And then the Star Wars Battlefront 2 that I played at your house was just the sequel to that one. These ones were for like PlayStation 2 and Xbox, the original.
Okay.
They never even made them for Xbox 360 because I remember I had an Xbox 360 and we talked about Amazon last week. I bought Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the Xbox, played it on the Xbox 360. I had to buy it from the used for like $5. The original Star Wars Battlefront for Xbox was, I think, $100 because it was rare because nobody has them anymore. It was a lot of money for the Xbox. The PS2.
Wait, yeah. Why did you say it was a lot of money though?
I think it was just hard to find.
Okay.
Star Wars Battlefront original, but yeah, those ones are definitely the ones I played probably the most, like on PlayStation.
Okay.
Max Payne was that was an old PlayStation 2 game.
So what? Yeah, what the heck was it about Max Payne? Was that just a campaign shooter? Was it online
it was
at all?
actually really weird. It was. What'd you say?
Was it online or was it just a campaign?
No, it was just a campaign. It was good because it was kind of just a standard third-person shitty graphics shooter where you had like bullet time, where you could slow things down. You were a cop, but then like halfway through, it just turns into this occult thing where like there's this weird Satanism stuff. I think you fight a couple people with horns. But then there's this level, at the beginning of the game starts, this guy goes home, his wife and kid get killed, he's a cop, it's like a hit team, and then randomly, I forget what goes leading up to it, but you can look this up if you're listening. Just type it into YouTube. There's this dream sequence that comes out of nowhere where your character just runs along this thin red line. If you go off to either side, you fall off and just die. And it's a almost obnoxiously long level. And then there's like hallway. There's almost like endless hallways you're just walking through. And then through all of it, there's just the crying of a baby. And this is after like a whole game of just shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
And it's just all of a sudden like, here's a nightmare. It's like, what is this? But yeah, I mean, so those were enjoyable. I'm trying to think if there are any like franchises. I bought multiple ones on the PlayStation 2 with. I don't think so.
I would put, older games. I played a 007 on the PS2, Nightfire. 007 Nightfire. I liked it only because I was so young at the time. I didn't own a PS2. It was at my cousin's house. But I just liked it because every single time I went there, I could do the exact same thing and have a blast. We would always play the same map. Not always. I played other stuff now and then, but our favorite thing to do was to play on this same map, and we would all get the guided missiles so that you could just shoot the missile from across the map and fly straight into someone else. But you would have to find them. But it was split screen, so you could kind of see where they were, and you would have to try to like chase them down before they ran inside the building. Like, that's definitely not going to take the cake number one video game ever. But it had we could do that 100 times and still love it. I would still do it today if I had a chance. Although I would probably get bored a little bit quicker than I did back then. So that's just kind of an honorable mention. Nothing crazy, but I had fun with it.
That is one thing I'll mention with this is that people who get angry about screen looking are intolerable and just completely distant from any kind of logic in their head. It's just like, what? It's just settled down. That's the only
right
way
there. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, no, it's impossible. You mentioned playing with your cousin. Like I remember playing like four screen. It was with my cousins out in Baltimore playing like 4-screen Halo, and that was all you did. I mean, you have a giant screen. It's still kind of boxed down to this little thing. All you're doing is just looking for the other person to hopefully turn and shoot them, or else you just get murdered by the other 3 people. Yeah.
So another one that's clearly near the top of my list, but clearly not a winner, Skyrim. I love the concept. I love the graphics, the story. I'm a fan of fantasy books and whatnot and movies. So yeah, I love Skyrim. I love the story a little bit, but I definitely can't put it at the top just because of all the bugs. That's about it. And there were some. It varied. Like there were certain parts of the world that were amazing, and then there were certain parts of the world that were like, this is just boring. And same thing with the missions or the quests. Certain parts of it were like, okay, this is interesting. Dragon here, climb a snowy mountain, whatever. And then there were certain parts that were like, yeah, all I have to do is walk to the next city and get you a banana. Okay. So.
I remember coming over to your parents' house in Robinson, and I think you were somehow stuck in a dungeon. And just like your save point, as soon as you went away from it, you would just die.
Yeah,
I remember doing that with some games.
Yeah, I think I explained that on either our show or maybe on Ryan's show, maybe both. Okay. But yeah, I ran into several different bugs. I couldn't get into cities because I was wanted, but I had to because it was part of the mission. Or, yeah, I couldn't get out of a dungeon for that exact reason. My save point was, like, too deep in the dungeon, so I would always reload, and then there were too many monsters around me, and I couldn't get out of the dungeon. Too many bugs like that. So, whatever. I love the concept, though. I wish it had worked out better. And it did for some people. Some people loved it and never really had issues. So, it just varied, I guess. Okay, near the top... Yeah. Very above Call of Duty, above Skyrim, but still not a winner would be Battlefield 1. That game's only like 3 years old, It's a lot like Call of Duty, just in terms of like it's a war shooter multiplayer, but it's World War One first of all, so it's much slower paced. You're not like coming out there with an Uzi and killing someone in half a second. You've got this sniper across like it's way bigger maps, and you're using this sniper or even with the machine gun, like the accuracy sucks. And I think all of that made the game better than Call of Duty, because it was that multiplayer balance that I was talking about. It wasn't so easy to dominate like instantly in Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 was much more dynamic, much more nuanced, much slower paced. And also the teams were bigger. So it was more, it wasn't about winning a match, because if you're only one of 30 people on your team, you're not going to be able to just win the match by yourself. It's all about your teammates, which is generally random. So it's not about winning the match. It's about playing the match and getting kills and getting objectives. So I think they did the multiplayer way better. Because if you're only one of 30 and you have 29 random teammates, it's going to be a crapshoot. Sometimes you're going to get 29 great people. Sometimes you're going to get 29 crappy people. But more often than not, it's just going to be average out. Your team's going to be average, and you're going to just play your part and do what you can. But also, they had squads. Every 30-person team might be divided into 6 5-person squads. That's perfect. Like, it's like co-op and multiplayer all combined. If you had a full squad on the voice chat, like those were great times. Like, you could do objectives way better with the squad on voice chat, and people that you knew, and you learned who's going to be the medic, who's going to be the sniper. Oh, and the vehicles, you could fly planes, tanks. So Battlefield 1, very high on my list, way above Call of Duty, but still not a winner. Any others, Tim?
It's sort of like middling to high, probably the original Dead Space. Because like Daniel's saying, as far as Skyrim being kind of his thing with fantasy, Dead Space is right in my wheelhouse of horror sci-fi. That's, if I'm going to pick the most interesting, and most problem is most of the movies are pretty shitty, but my most interesting, like the genre of whatever I'm going to be the most interested in, is going to be some kind of horror space. And Dead Space is very good with visuals, with the jump scares and everything, but it's a good story and whatever, and it's fun, and it's not, I don't know, I never played any other ones besides I've also played a decent amount of time on video games at like Walmart stations where they have it so you can play
you played at Walmart.
I would be dumb and I'd be like, I don't want to stay home, I want to go shopping with my mother, and then my neck would hurt from just staring up at the screens. But I think I played something, part of it on there, and it kind of just turned into kind of more of a generic shooter. I didn't mind Modern Warfare 2. I kind of liked, like I said, never mind.
You're not putting Call of Duty on your list still?
No. Okay. It wasn't bad, but yeah, for everything you've said, like if I want to play a shooter, I want it to be a little bit more involved than just, I don't want the full tactical realism stuff either, but I liked Battlefield 1 whenever I was out there at your house. I played that quite a bit.
Oh, I forgot. There. Okay, so Battlefield 1's up there. I'm also going to put Minecraft pretty high on my list, just because the creativity, especially on PC, where you could run your own server and install plugins, and then your friends could join your server. And we ended up building we built our own capture the flag map within Minecraft, and then the plugins would let you like regenerate it whenever you wanted to start a new game. There were plugins for like currency, so your character would have a certain amount of currency and you could give it to another character, or you would get rewarded currency if you did X, Y, or Z. Yeah, the creativity was just endless. You could build, you could play it on your phone, and I built this like underwater palace. Tons of fun. You could play it on your PC, and even the types of, like I said, we built a capture the flag map. I loved it. There was this game that people made up called spleefing, where you would build an arena that was just a layer of snow and a layer of lava underneath, and everyone would spawn in with shovels, and you would just try to dig the snow out from under your opponents and make them fall into the lava. That's just one random example of all the random stuff you could come up with in Minecraft. It's just endless creativity in terms of what you build, what you play. There were Hunger Game servers where you would log in and just the last one to survive won. You might build weapons, you might build places to heal, a home. There were open world like servers where you could literally, and you still can, buy land in certain Minecraft servers and build skyscrapers or whatever, and no one else can build on that land. It's just endless creativity. So that's pretty darn high on my list. I haven't played it in a while. I don't know. Oh, side note, we're coming up on time here, so I don't want to get too distracted, but side note, I think I told you a few weeks ago how I was reading articles about like hackers and how like 19-year-olds were building botnets and stuff. Some of the biggest botnets ever created were used or created as part of attacking Minecraft servers. Like these kids, that 19-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids would, try to build Minecraft servers, and then they would learn how to build a botnet and then attack other Minecraft servers so that no one could log into them, and they would all come over to them. And then there was this whole new industry spawned with the same people that they would create services for DDoS. DDoS is that attack. If you have a botnet and you attack a website or a server, that's called DDoSing it. And they would create companies that would explicitly for Minecraft DDoS defense or mitigation. And so these same people would be creating the Minecraft servers. Then they would be creating the Minecraft botnets, or the botnets to attack Minecraft servers. And then they would create the companies to defend against these botnets and get paid for those as well. Mind-boggling stuff. Great reads. I read a ton of articles on that stuff, but anyway, fun stuff. So we're going to wrap up here pretty quick, Twim. Yeah. Anyway. Any last near the top ones that you need to squeeze in?
Near the top, no. I think I'm good. I think that's
okay. We might revisit this list, down the road whenever we think of more or play more or whatever.
Wait, you're still saying like middle to top, right? Not the top ones?
Yep. I've got two. I think I can think of two that are clearly vying for my spot number one. But actually, I know which of the two I like better. Yeah. So go ahead, Tim. Give me two or three or however many you got that are definitely vying for top spot.
Okay. Top spot, and these are all pretty different. The Hobbit was a... that was an old game. That was like 2006 or something. Like it's
on
the old
what system?
PS2.
Okay.
It's completely cartoonish. It looks old, but it was. I remember, like, again, most of this stuff is just me remembering stuff. So I remember, like, summertime at my parents' house there's no AC, so it's just all the windows are open. It's storming outside, and I'm just playing this game forever. And it was challenging enough where it had like riddles and stuff in it, and then you could fight things, and then blah blah blah, and it felt like I already knew the story, but it was enjoyable. It was fulfilling. It was
story mode, but like the same story as the actual book. Yeah,
it was.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay,
probably closer. Now, obviously, you have to like make the levels a little bit different and things happen, but it pretty much includes everything from the book.
Dang, that's cool.
And it's a lot more carefree than even like the the branded Lord of the Rings games were.
Was it strictly campaign, or were there any like progressive elements, like skills that you would preserve and then go back and replay stuff with better skills? Was there like a world to explore, or was it just strictly campaign?
It was strictly campaign. It wasn't really open world. It was just level. It was, I mean, half the game, like I said, was just hacking, slashing at people. Half of it was platforming, just jumping from things to things. Okay. And then there'd be like riddles. It's certain parts. They weren't consistent, but like Lake Town, you use the ring and you follow people. Or like the elves, most of the levels just you wearing the ring. Two, probably... I can't really decide. Probably the original Borderlands. Okay. The second one was pretty good. I like that. I like the second one probably more because I think you and I played it more consistently together.
Oh, yeah. Those like arenas that we had to beat. Yeah. Those were fun. Yeah.
And the game is, again, it's a little futuristic. It doesn't take itself that seriously. There's some humor in it.
So hold on. So since that's your number 2 or thereabouts, I should mention that is also exactly what I would have put for my number 2. And I would have said the exact same thing. Borderlands 1 was probably slightly better, but they were both great. And I didn't play the prequel, or I think 3 is coming out before long, or some other.
I didn't play any of them though.
Yeah, but yeah, numbers 1 and 2, like. For the same reasons. Like, it's slightly futuristic. The co-op, I loved absolutely playing with friends. I liked that it wasn't so... There were some skills and skill points type stuff, but it didn't matter as much as it does in other games. Like, there are some games where, like, if you master this one skill, you just, like, instantly win the game and nothing matters.
Well, yeah, that is why, and I probably should have. The list isn't that good because I completely went over Dark Souls, and you were talking about like vast, like really nice, crisp visuals and great worlds.
Oh yeah.
But there's no explanation to it. There's my characters, because I don't go off of builds online, are always fucked up in the strength and everything. Borderlands had the RPG stuff where you could work on things, but it was more just, well, as long as you would shoot the person in the head.
Right, exactly. It's not like in RuneScape, like if you like developed your skills the wrong way, your combat level might be high, but you weren't actually that good. And I can only imagine how much more confusing that is with like Dark Souls, where I've never played it, but yeah, like I could see if you mess up your skill tree and you like your overall level is pretty high, so you get stuck in harder situations, but ultimately your skills don't work well together. Like, that's got to suck. It's kind of like Magic, the card game. That can happen where like you might have a couple really good cards, but you really have to have your full deck like in tandem working together and pull the right cards at the right time. And yeah, so but with Borderlands, just to clarify, like what we were saying, there was a skill tree, but it barely mattered. You barely noticed. Like, oh, you might get a slightly bigger magazine size, or a slightly higher accuracy on this one weapon. But no, it really didn't matter. As long as you just light people up, you're good. And there was only a few characters to choose from, and they had special abilities, but those didn't matter too much either. Like, they were cool, they were fun to use in the heat of battle, but you didn't have to use them to win the game. And so, yeah, totally agree there. And same thing with Borderlands 2. The graphics were slightly better. The worlds were great. There were funny parts too, plenty of comedy, just stuff to laugh at with Claptrap and whatever. The dumb little midgets that would run around. Tons of great stuff there. So, all right. So I'm not going to officially... I've joked plenty of times on plenty of shows how I suck at picking favorites because I'm always like, well, what if I'm forgetting something? So I'm not going to officially label these number 1, but let's go ahead and just finish off the list here with our final picks that are most likely number 1. Hit me, Tim.
Probably the absolute top is Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 1, the graphics were a little bit too fucked up, and because of that, and because of it being a horror game, some of the mechanics are messed up where you can't like even see what you're supposed to be scared of, because the dark versus light on a PS1 game is a little bit weird. Silent Hill 2 had like the most atmosphere is probably a good word for this kind of thing. And again, the graphics weren't great, but the amount of story that went into it, I'm whistling for some reason. The direction, the character, the monster creations, just in everything, and it was like exactly what I'm talking about as far as it being like emotionally draining almost, as far as what's going on and what's happening.
Was that another one that's strictly campaign, right?
Yeah, all the Silent Hill games, most horror games are. Now they put a little bit of co-op. That's another one. I'm messing up this list so much because Condemned is another horror game. They did do some kind of a multiplayer, but it always gets messed up. It's weird because the rest of the game is you running away from things, and then they're like, here, fight each other while scary music plays. So yeah, probably that. And then so the only game I play anymore is Rising Storm 2, which is a shooter, Vietnam shooter, and that's just because there's a consistent community of people that play it. It's a step up from
what system?
It's PC. It's on the laptop. That's also
How old is it?
The only new. I think 2016, and then they just do updates.
Is it on Steam?
I like. Yeah.
What? How have you not told me about this? I would have found it.
I did tell you about it. I did tell you about it.
I remember now.
Piece of shit.
Why did you remind me? I could have been level 100 already.
You could have been what?
Level 100 already.
No, you died too quick.
What's it called? Rising Storm?
Yeah, Rising Storm 2. There was the originals was called it was like Red Orchestra or something. That was like the World War II version.
There's 4 people streaming right now. I could have been playing this stream. I could have been the #1 Rising Storm streamer.
If you buy it, I'll definitely play it with you. I would say.
Okay. You said that there's still a pretty strong community, because that's what sucks when there's a great game.
Definitely is. Oh wait, Rising
there's
Storm
no
2
more community left.
It's 2017, so yeah, it's new. And what's nice about it, it's like 64 people, so it's like Battlefield 1. The maps are bigger. There's helicopters, but it's a step up as far as being like tactically more than Modern Warfare. Running around. There's squads. You're supposed to listen to stuff. People calling artillery off of like squad leaders. You make a mark with I'm pantomiming all this. So it's like a step above Call of Duty as far as realism or whatever, but it's not. There's games like Squad and I think Arma where it's like the full, like if you watch anybody playing it, they're doing we got a bogey vector 6 at 600 meters and you have to, so those ones are really in depth. If you're playing that, you're playing for like 4 hours for a mission, like a recon mission. This is still casual enough. You can just jump in and die a bunch, but.
All right. Well, now I definitely have to check that out. It sounds fun. But yeah, because it's
actually on sale right now.
Oh, I got to see if it runs on Linux, though. That's the biggest thing right now.
Okay.
I'm limited to Linux. I might just cave and install Windows, but who knows? Because I did want to play some Apex Legends, maybe some Fortnite. Anyway, all right. My finisher here, Portal. For sure. Portal. Okay. I've probably said it on the show before. Who knows? It's insanely unique, original. Like there's no other games quite like it. It's a puzzle game, but it's like no other puzzle. But it's also like the graphics are amazing. Not like crisp and sharp and realistic, but like the worlds are interesting. Well, no, the first one's pretty plain, but then the second one has some more complex graphics, some interesting worlds and design. So for sure. And then it's hilarious at points. It's challenging, and then it's also emotional. Like the way you have to escape, or just like the way you're like kind of making friends, you're remembering old times, but you also aren't, you're trying to figure out what's going on. It's very emotional, and all the backstory that you can learn by checking the corners of all the rooms and stuff, and learning about like who you even are and who else was in your life back in the day. So there's plenty of emotion. It's hilarious, challenging, unique, and they also have co-op, and it's just mind-blowing the way some of the puzzles work and the way you beat some of them. Incredibly rewarding. The only thing it lacks is replay value. It sucks, but it does lack replay value. Although, if I were to go into it today, either Portal 1 or Portal 2, I am positive there would be levels that I have trouble beating. I just would. You don't remember them that well. So, yeah, clearly near the top for me, probably number one. So, well, that's our list, guys. This was fun. That was a ton of deep, rich, flowing, meaningful content from you, me, and BTC. So you are welcome. But we also got to do our real quick wrap up here with our portfolios. So let's boot it up, Tim. Let's see who's in the lead before we wrap up.
Boot her up.
Yeah, boot her up. I hope I'm still logged in. I don't want to screw around with my password.
That's the thing. I already had to do that, and I already had to get a new password again.
Timmy. All right. Let me switch over here to the
whoa. My
screen
portfolio is empty. Oh, it's because I switched it to real.
Just like real life.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Tim.
So good. Now I'm back.
Don't forget to flip on your screen share. I'm not going to tell you what my number's at. Maybe you've seen it already. But I want to see your number. Let's get that screen share cranked. This is eToro, guys. They are our sponsors. We are incredibly grateful to them for their support. Okay, hanging in there. We started with the 100, and we're sitting pretty at 98.6. That's not too bad.
I've gained $4,000 since last week.
Yeah, actually, that's more than I've gained since last week, probably. So you got me on the week. But, yeah, Bitcoin is down a touch since we started. So you're pretty much in line with the market. That's pretty good. You haven't really lost money, I guess, is the idea. So that's pretty good. You've got 50,000 invested roughly. $50,050. I'm about up to that. I'm still slowly investing. I always just add money to every day or so I've been checking, and whatever's down, you buy stuff when it goes down, of course. Not investment advice here by any stretch. We're just showing you how this platform works, what we like about it, how you could use it. So please do not take any of this as investment advice. We're just having fun with virtual portfolios. I am still in the lead, though. Just got to get that in there. Not by much, though. Tim seriously is closing the gap. I'm sitting at about 99,000 even, and I've got about 43,500 invested. So I still got some work to do. I'm still going to slowly be investing more as stuff goes down. I did close some positions. So let me look here at my portfolio. And so I'm up on Bitcoin, I'm up on Ethereum Classic, everything else is down a touch. But I closed some positions here if we look at history. Last week I was all excited about this Ethereum Classic spike, and I did close a position there for $125 profit. These two Bitcoin closures here were closed because automatically, or at least one of them was, maybe both of them. This one here at 10.6, I put in a automatically close this position when Bitcoin hits 10.6. I took a $20 profit because why not? I'll take profit when I can get it. This one here, $30 profit on this position. And then I got into Ethereum Classic again. That one I just closed a few days ago. 9.3 it would have been. So 2 days ago. And that's my biggest profit. So Ethereum Classic, without question, has done the best for me. Tim, can you flip over to your portfolio? Have you closed any positions yet?
I have no idea what you mean by that.
Okay, so go on, turn on your screen share, and click on portfolio. I'm curious if you've only bought stuff or if you've also sold stuff. That's what I mean by closing positions.
No, I haven't sold anything. I'm
so
in
click on that. Click on that clock on the top middle. Okay, so yeah, Tim has not yet closed any position. So you could, if you go back to portfolio, are any of them green? So yeah, ETC, you have also made a ton of money on ETC. So if you click on ETC, you should see, okay, you only have one position, but you could close that position to lock in $175 profit, and then you could reinvest that $175 into something that's gone down.
Now, explain to me a little bit. You're saying there's the one position because I've made the one purchase. Is that just because... Yeah, I'm just trying to understand trading in the first, because it doesn't even, I'll be honest, I wasn't even thinking about selling things. That hadn't even occurred to me. This is why I was never a good seller. That's why I never even tried it. I was just like, you just buy it and then you keep it and it goes up.
I mean, I like that plan too. Not investment advice, but I do like that plan.
The idea is the position is as soon as you buy that amount at that price, then your position moves dependent on the price going up and down, and then you want to
each
work off of that.
purchase is a separate position. So if you were to buy more now, you'd have a second Ethereum position that you could close out separately. So every time you buy, you're opening a new position, and that position. Okay. So if you go back to your portfolio, you could see. Go to one, probably Bitcoin, one that you've bought a lot, several times.
Stellar.
Okay, Stellar you've bought twice, it looks like. And so you could close each of those positions, but they are both down. So you probably don't want... But that's the thing, though, Tim. If Stellar goes way down, you could buy more. Because, it's lower. I could buy more now and lower the average amount that I've spent on Stellar. What about Bitcoin? I'm just curious. Okay, 2 positions there. They are both up. Nice. All right, Tim, so I'm going to give you, to wrap up our show here, this is eToro, guys. You can find them at meandbtc.com/trade. If you use that link, they'll know you found them through us, and we'd appreciate your support through that. Guys, the virtual portfolio takes literally 2 minutes to set up, and you instantly get a $100,000 virtual portfolio. You can join our competition. Let us know how it's going, where you're at, how much money you've got, what you're buying, just for fun. If nothing else, just try it out. It's a blast. It doesn't cost anything to do the virtual portfolio. So Tim, I'm going to give you the final say here on my portfolio. How about let's do another 2,000, Tim? Whatever you want. They have 14 cryptos available. My watch list I've narrowed down to 6 or 7 in my portfolio because I've added Stellar. Stellar's not really on my watch list, but it is in my portfolio because Tim made me buy it. Tim, I'm going to give you another $2,000 to allocate for me. What should I buy? Your goal here is for me to lose money, so do whatever you got to do. But I'm giving you an edge here.
Can I split them? The 2,000?
Sure. I'll do 1 and 1. There's also if just so we don't forget, there are also other markets that I don't have on my watch list. That would be like Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, Neo, EOS, and stuff like that. So there are a few more things if you really want to screw me over. So hit me, Tim. Anything? Here they all are. Tezos, Tron, Neo, EOS, IOTA, Cardano.
What's the one at the bottom?
One at the bottom is Tezos. So we're looking at 1-day charts here. So here's 1 week charts, if that makes a difference. If you want me to buy something that's gone way up, or 1 month charts. Anything looking good, Tim? I'll do 1 and 1.
I think put some in Neo and then in I guess some more Ethereum Classic.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Yeah, Ethereum Classic is way up on the month. 10%. Okay, there's another 1,000. Open trade. There you have it, guys. That is eToro. We are insanely grateful for their support. meandbtc.com/trade. There's also going to be links in the show notes, of course. and we would absolutely love your support. Even if you just do a virtual portfolio, we'd love your involvement there. Thanks for loving us. Thanks for them loving us. Thanks for you loving us. Thanks for you loving them. Thanks for Tim, maybe. I don't know. Guys, thanks for joining us. I really had fun with this episode. We might do more. I don't know, TV shows? It's easy to do the same kind of thing with TV shows, movies, books. Who knows what? I had a blast, though. We'll be back next Thursday, guys. We love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.